I'm gonna be taking some time off. Unfortunately, not, no.
Hi, thanks for those comments. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. How cute you look. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that image come together?
This? Oh, I think over there.
They keep disappearing.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a little blur of blonde in there.
I gotta move that over.
And the older we get, the worse we get at dressing ourselves.
I don't know how you can do this by yourself. You have to do it probably by yourself.
You know, the developmental stages are the same, they're just in reverse.
There's truth in it. Whoops.
I need pads. If I don't have pads, I'm in trouble.
No, 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 no. You're hurt. It's like trying to, like a ribbon slip later. No. They're trying to play necklace on. They hope so. I had a lesson, like my mom, I used to swear I never buy shoes. My uncle had shoes with Velcro because they were easier, and he still came on his Velcro, and I said, right? Now, for my mother, it's the best thing in the world. And she doesn't have to tie them. It's easy for her to get on, and you can adjust the width, right?
I don't remember any Velcro shoes.
Some of them are really, some of them, never the kids have them for a while. Yeah, never for a while, it was the later kids. My kids did.
Oh, Velcro necklace too.
I know her shoes. My old, and on and I have a necklaces. Because nobody else can do it for me. That's why now with my arthritis, yeah, it's very, very hard.
Sing Carnegie. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Stand at the shores of the sea, fearful we want to turn back. The sea holds our eyes filled with wonder as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Days pass, the answers might change as we keep moving along. Stepping into the unknown, near the end, myriad songs we awaken, retelling our stories as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving on. Cross the sea is the time to sing our song. We are free. Dance with your timbrels in hand. There's no turning back from this journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Days pass, the answers might change as we keep moving along. Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving along. So, we'll begin our journey with a medley of Arise My Love, Anima Amin, and Dodili. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter's see visions.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are joining us here in person and also those joining us via live stream, and wonderful to create Shabbat and spend some Shabbat time together. We'll invite Julie forward to light our Shabbat candles. Page 2.
I'm going to do a different melody. after I-
Okay, so light them and then come over to the microphone.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. So this melody I learned a long time ago in Dayton, Ohio. It's very easy. It starts with li, 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 so feel free to join in as you pick up the melody. Li, la, 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 li, la, la, li, li, li. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav b'mitzvotav. V'tzivanu lahadlik ner, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner, shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Yai, lai, 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 lai.
Thank you for sharing a new melody. Those are always great. So we'll turn together as we continue to welcome Shabbat to page 10 and join in Hine Matov. Yes? Yes.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
As we turn together to page 20, as we welcome Shabbat into our hearts and into our lives once again, this first Shabbat of our Torah cycle, our Shabbat Bereshit, the first reading of Torah, the first time we once again have a scroll ready to begin those beautiful words of creation.
Lech adadi לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה. לך הדדי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך השמיענו Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Hi makor habaracha Rosh mikerem nesucha Sof ma'aseh v'machshava techila Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom
Please rise.
Ateret ba'ala
Gam b'simcha
ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי קלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We turn together to page 22, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. The righteous bloom like a date palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי יסוד ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון מכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
This is truly a beautiful day. The sun is shining, it's warm, it is a perfect September-October 1st day. And what a way to begin our Shabbat celebrations of this new year as we begin Torah reading once again, but also welcome each other in a sense of wholeness of community as to whether we are here in person or joining via live stream. And so we wish Shalom Aleichem, peace on all of us, that sense of peace and wholeness that we all wish and hope and pray for. So we join together, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzeichem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on a ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning night you renew our days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Rise together for Chatzi Kaddish, page 26.
Yitkadav yitkadash miraba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirute ve'amlich malchute. B'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, bimaru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam alal me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'shabach, v'yitba'ar, Yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei b'kudesha b'richu, le'la min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, bimeru, amen. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch
Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam Vaed.
And please be seated as we continue with Ma'ariv Aravim on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, Itfuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono bore yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai tzvaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai, HaMa'ariv Aravim. Page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Ahavat olam, med Yisrael, Amcha Havta, Amcha Havta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נצליח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
We turn together to page 34 as we rise for Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated as we continue with Va'ahavta on page 36. And if Shema is the faith statement, the idea that we are compelled to love God, here's how. Here's how, with our whole selves, with our hearts, with our minds, with our bodies.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory, may the earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oseh felet. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh.
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu el kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Page 45. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Page 47. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. We rise together for Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open our lips, that our mouths may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevig Ula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Tara V'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayei Memunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Chabal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayei, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neman Ata L'Chayot HaKol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
For a moment, turn back to page 50 and you can have a seat. And there in the middle, you see there are two options for winter and summer. Right? So in winter, we say, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, who thank you for God who blows the winds and brings the rain down on us, brings the rain down. And the other one is Morid Hatal for the summer, which is thanking God for the dew. Because if you are thinking of an agricultural cycle and an experience in Israel, of course, there is no rain in the summer. Rain doesn't exist. Rain can't ever really fall in a desert climate over the summer. It just doesn't happen. And so the rabbi said, well, if something's not going to happen, then why are you praying for it? Because it's not something that is either really desired, because that's not part of your natural cycle, or necessary. And so what are you praying for? What are you being thankful for? And so we are thankful for the dew that does enrich the earth in the same way that rain does actually in the desert. Dew is an important part of the ecosystem of the desert. And then in the winter, we switch to the part that talks about having rain, because that's when we have rain. Now, for us, winter begins when? I know, sometime in August, but no. Let's say December, maybe, we can usually make it through most of November without that white stuff. But actually, when we transition, we actually transition right this week. We transition at the end of Sukkot is the last time that sort of concludes the summer. And now we move into winter. So from this point forward, we're going to switch from summer, which is Morid Hatal, into Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem. So we'll continue on page 53. Let's read together. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay-touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, "How filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it." Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amecha Yisrael U'tefilatam Be'avat Tikabel U'tehi Leratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha Il Karov Lechol Korav Penei El Avadecha Lechaneinu Shefach Ruchacha Aleinu V'techezin Einenu Meshuvecha Letzion Berachamim Baruch atah Adonai Hamachzir Shechinato Litzion.
Page 61. Let's join together in our prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. Give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Baruch atah Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. It's been a long week. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki אתה הוא מלך אדום, לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום, לכל השלום. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
We take a few moments of silence and introspection, leaving aside our prayer books and thinking of those conversations, those prayers, those thoughts that we want to share between us and God.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי וגואלי.
We turn together to page 253. We think of all those in our world, in our country, our community, who are in need of a blessing of healing. We think especially of all those who struggle so terribly, continually now with COVID. For those who have suffered through the worst of it and are dealing with side effects that are ongoing. For those who are in the middle of that struggle. And for those who struggle and are ill in so many different kinds of ways. We pray for healing. Healing for body, for soul, for heart, for mind. And on this Shabbat, we think especially about Greg Bennett, Michael Byron, Scott Gordon, Rebecca Gottlieb, Julian Howell, Thomas Costinis, Phyllis Levin, Jacob Adams, Dave Schroeder, Zachary Jackson, Dane Marcinowski, Berko Shervetsky, Debbie Perry, Bruce Harrell, Sasha Leopold, Andrea Kempner-Blake, Marcia Pinsky-Koblitz, Joe and Penny Maloney, Matea Press, Jack Hall, Joe Riley, Joseph Passetner, Edie Francis, Fran Porras, Frank Fusaro, Jim McCann, and Sheila Cohn. If you have others that you would like to name and you are joining us via our live stream, please put the names into the chat box. If you're here in person, as I look around, please share a name. And we join together in Mishaberach, our prayer for healing.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Creation, the beginning, a beginning, the beginning. The stories in the first part of the text are familiar, right? What happens first? Creation. God creates the world. How long does it take? 6 days? Okay, which is part of the world. And so important, it gets its own full day. So in order to create the entire totality of the world, it's 6 days of hard work, followed by one whole day dedicated to resting. It's a great concept, right? A day off, who knew? Somebody asked me this week at some point, so now that the holidays are over, what do you do? I just sort of laughed. It is this wonderful new beginning, especially this year as the holidays were the very beginning of September, and then we kind of begin our academic and program year. So there's lots going on. Check your bulletin that went out today. Lots of things happening. But we take a look at that creation story, right? God creates the whole world, including the lights and the waters, and separates water and land, and does all of this work, and then creates plants and animals, and finally creates people. And when God creates people, there's a moment that God speaks differently about people than all the other creations. What happens? What happens in the text? God says, let us, who's us? But okay, let us create people in our image. Male and female, God created them. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, linguistics say that God was speaking in the royal we. Na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu, meaning that God is the collective and therefore is multifaceted and is the we, and therefore that's the intent. Maybe. I like the Midrash better. I often like the Midrash better. Because the Midrash tells the story that says God was addressing the heavenly court. And the Midrash sort of has as concept that we are down here, and our lives are a dim reflection of the heavenly realms. And so down here we have the heavenly, the earthly courts, right? We have kings and queens on thrones, and we have advisors for our kings and queens, and we have a whole court of people who advise them, right? As we do today, right? Political leaders have a whole series of advisors and cabinets and all of those structures that give them the information they need to, well, God willing, make the good choices. Well, God too has the advisors, the series of the cabinet. Can you imagine being in the divine cabinet? So what do you want to make today? So God is in this heavenly realm and is addressing the heavenly beings and says, okay, we're going to make people. And what do you think the angels said? Please don't. And God said, well, why not? And the angel said, well, the way you've described this thing called people, they have the responsibility to make decisions. What are you thinking? They're going to get it wrong. And God says, well, but without it, the world can't actually grow and develop. And so God creates people differently than God created or experienced the other beings in the world, or in the heavenly realm anyway, because angels themselves don't really have self-determination. They don't make decisions. Angels are essentially ways that we hear God's message, right? But they don't make decisions themselves, but we do. And of course, the next story in the text is all about two people making a decision. Right? What's the decision? Right. Adam and Eve hanging out in the garden, in there all together. And God says, enjoy, have fun, do anything you like, except don't eat from the really, really great tree in the middle of the garden. And of course, being created with curiosity and desire and all of those natural traits of people, the first thing Eve does is bites on that fruit. Not only does she do that, she gives it to Adam, he has it too, and suddenly, what happens? Yeah. Their eyes are open. Their eyes are open and they have a deeper understanding of self. They see themselves differently. They now see themselves, first of all, there's a whole host of information you can look at in terms of kind of sexual awakening that happens, right? They see themselves as now being naked and they see that as a problem. Why is it a problem? I mean, they've been naked the whole time. All of a sudden, it's a problem? But nevertheless, there is this sense of growth and development that we see in Adam and Eve. And now they hide from God. And God comes in and says, hey, guess what you did? And then there's a whole lot of consequences that follow it. But really what is, I think, most important in the story is that moment that we make decisions, that we act out exactly what God wanted us to do. We decide to bite that apple, or whatever that fruit may have been. We don't really know it was an apple. Actually, the apple comes more from Christian theology. It's impossible that it was an apple, because apples don't grow in the Middle East. At least they didn't until more recently. But, you know, who knows what it probably was. A fig. Some people think it was a fig. Some people, you know, they're not sure. But you know, historically, it wouldn't have been an apple. Apples didn't exist in the ancient world. But anyway. So they have this fruit, and they make this decision, and then they have to take responsibility. And sometimes you can read that text as God punishing Adam and Eve. But I think it's actually more Adam and Eve realizing the divine goal, which was to have people experience the world around them and be responsible for it, and not simply depend on food to just show up. That they had to work for it. They had to then appreciate for it. And we know that when people work for something, it's so much more appreciated. Right? That's kind of a, especially, those of you who have anything to do with kids, know that when kids want something, if they have to work for it, they tend to take care of it far better than if you just hand it to them, right? It's called sweat equity. So as this story unfolds, Adam and Eve are now out in the world, and they have to make their own lives. And they have children, and that grows into what we know as humanity. Now, we can read that as the story of Adam and Eve, or we can read it as an evolutionary story of people who started out not really understanding the world around them, not really being responsible to make decisions, but that evolved and grew and developed in us. So where are we now? What decisions do we have to make now? We have lots to decide. We have lots to struggle with. We have lots of things to decide of, from the mundane. Is it okay for me to go to the grocery store? Do I have to wear 1 mask, 2 masks, no masks? What do I have to do? Should I have a third booster? Should I have a third shot? Should I not get a shot? Should I make sure I have a shot? Should I, And all of the health concerns that go along with our decisions. And so living is complicated as it's ever been. So what guides decisions? Conscience? Good, yeah, sure. A sense of what's right. And where do we find all of that? So parents, previous experiences, all of those kinds, and text, and the text of our traditions. If we allow them to, they inform our thoughts and our thinking around what we can do and what we should do. And so this story is far more than a myth of creation. Right? It's a story of ourselves. The story of ourselves growing up, starting out as babies, not really knowing anything about the world around us, and over time we take on more and more of these responsibilities of having to make choices for ourselves and our own destinies. And the trick here, of course, is that not only do we have the responsibility of making the decisions, but we have to live with the consequences of them. Right? That's always the trick. It's easy to make decisions if you don't have to live with the consequences. It's much more difficult if that's part of it. And so on Shabbat Bereshit, we think of all of the decisions we have to make. And we think of the ways that we can help each other and help ourselves as we experience those choices through the lens of Jewish living, of Jewish life, and of the insights of our tradition. Shabbat Shalom. And we'll rise together and turn to page 282 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula le'otzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kagoyei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umadim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, וארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and of death. We are in the period of Shloshim, those first days of mourning for Jessie Rubenfeld, and we extend condolences to her entire family. And as a notice, next Friday night, as part of our service, we will have an opportunity to share memories and stories about Jessie and be able to recall the wonderful, wonderful times, and as I understand, what an amazing, amazing member of our synagogue and our community in general that she and Herbie both were. And so certainly an opportunity for us in the congregation to share some memories and some moments. And so we also observe the following yahrzeits on this Shabbat of Morris Tanner, Meyer Milner, Leon March, Alfred Schaffner, Joseph Schuster, Isaac Baker, Murray Chinsky, Henry Singer, Samuel Holtz, A.P. Silverstein, Isaac J. Garson, Samuel Frank, Isaac Rosenzweig, Franklin Fox, Friedrich Schuster, Barry Ryder, Ovid Cohen Sr., Nellie Bissinger, Therese Cohen, Florence Couric, and Carolyn Gluck. If you have a name to add and you are joining us via live stream, please add the name in our chat box. If you are here and you would like to add a name, please do so as I look around. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing for us. As we turn to the words of Kaddish and Rise, page 294. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyom echon, uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'elam u'lalmeh almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dikudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome Rochelle Krowinski forward to share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Everyone who's here and also live streaming. And Jesse, thank you again for the lovely music, and Rabbi for your wonderful words this evening. Services this weekend are in honor of Brittany and Jonathan Renberg, and the anniversary of Ingrid Renberg and Corey Borello. They are also in memory of William Schwartz, who is my grandfather. Saturday, which is October 2nd, and Janice's birthday. Happy birthday, Janice. Starting at 10 in the morning, we have the Shabbat morning service, and there is a link for people to enjoy that program live streaming, and also Torah study at 11, again via live stream. Sunday, October 3rd, we will have Gesher and Hebrew classes starting at 9:30, and those are in person. And Wednesday, October 6th, starting at 7, the Rabbi's Insights to Judaism class starts. And it's a wonderful class. If you haven't taken it, please think about it. There are many of us who have taken it more than once and plan on taking it again because it changes. It's never quite the same. And it's just a wonderful dialogue among those of us who join it and forever learning, which is what Judaism is about. We're forever learning. The annual Women's March is taking place Saturday, October 2nd at 10, Perry Square. No RSVP is necessary. Just show up and defend women's reproductive rights. Also, I mentioned joining a rabbi. This is something different. Join Rabbi Murray on Monday, October 4th at 7, also at Perry Square, for an ecumenical candlelight vigil. Attendees will come together in prayer, song, and poetry seeking urgent climate action. And I think that's it. Thank you. Again, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, so after a long hiatus, we are returning to weekly Shabbat morning services, either in person or via live stream, whichever makes you happy. You can come to either one. If you're coming here to Temple, of course, according to our policies, you have to wear a mask, and you also have to be fully vaccinated. So we hope that people will come and participate or join us via live stream, either way. And we are going to conclude this evening, whatever this is.
Thank you.
Yeah. With Oseh Shalom.
Make me feel better. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Shalom.
Oh, yes. We're a little famizzled today. Okay, let's do Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, מקומי ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן.
L'chaim.
לחיים.
Now, who wants to take a challah home? Carly, you want it home? Of course you do. Right? Excellent. Okay, good. Carly gets the challah today. Ready? Hamotzi lachem min haaretz.
We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Take care.